It's 2nd of July 2022. Just arrived at Goring Greensward to meet Peter Lamb, and we're going to have a little walk to the, I believe it's called the English Catholic Martyrs Church, which apparently has been painted up to look a bit like the Sistine Chapel inside. So hopefully you can get a bit of video there and see what it looks like. Just waiting for Peter now. He's just coming. Here he is on his way. And of course you've got the sea down there. It's a bit blowy today. Well, we thought we'd have a quick look here as we're on our way up to the Sistine Chapel, for want of putting it a different way. Yeah, the Catholic Church of the English Catholic Church of the Martyrs. See what this one's like. It's quite a big church. I'm guessing it's not terribly old. What the St Andrews? Oh, right. Let's have a quick sneak inside. Very musical church. Coffee morning, and they gave us coffee and tea for Peter. Absolutely. Well, that wasn't expected. There was a coffee morning going on there. The vicar was here and he chatted away to us and told us about the fact that they have bands there and, you know, drummers and guitarists. And Andy asked if he could pray for us both as well. So, nice chap. And here we are at the English Martyrs Catholic Church, or the Sistine Chapel, so to speak. And hoping that I'll be allowed to do some videoing in here, if the ceiling really is as they say. So that building wasn't the church after all. They were playing shawmat bowls in there. This is the church. Most people are younger than us these days.
He's in his late 60s, so yeah.
This is the chap that painted it, obviously.
The chap that painted it, yeah. He was in his early 30s. Went to Rome with his wife and two little girls on pilgrimage from the parish. Saw the Sistine Chapel and thought, I could do what he thought really. I could do that in my church at home. And came back and asked the priest, and the priest said, oh, you have to ask the bishop. He went and asked the bishop, and the bishop said, you'll have to ask the parish. Obviously the parish said, okay, go for it, which was a tremendous act of faith on their part. The one thing the bishop did say, if you start it, you've got to finish it. And he was working at the time. He's a sign writer by profession, although he does mainly painting and decorating now in people's houses. But it took him 5.5 years.
5.5 years.
And that is working during the day and doing this in the evenings and weekends. And it's
one man on his own.
One man on his own. One man on his own. But this is 2/3. It's the only replica, known replica in the world of the Sistine Chapel, and is 2/3 exactly. I think there's 2 inches out at the end. 2/3 exactly the size of the original Sistine Chapel, although it's about 20 foot lower, so it's much easier to see.
Well, that was an interesting little chat from the lady, and took the chap, as you probably heard, 5.5 years doing this in his spare time. And it's 2/3 of the actual size of the Sistine Chapel. Pretty amazing, really. This picture here is a depiction or a photograph of the chap that actually did the work.
It's very hard to get a picture.
That is without doubt a pretty amazing ceiling. And to think it's here in Worthing or Goring.
Just gives you the kind of centrepiece up there, the chapel. Now for Catholics, the Sistine Chapel is a very important chapel in Rome. It's part of the Vatican museums. If you want to see the original, you have to walk all the way through the Vatican museums to get to the end where the Sistine Chapel is. And it's important to Catholics because it's the place where the cardinals meet to elect a new pope. So it's a very special place, made famous, of course, by Michelangelo and his painting on the ceiling, and also in the Sistine Chapel there's a fabulous painting of the Last Supper. It's very rich. This church was built or erected in 1970, so it's just over 50 years old. The barn next door, I don't know if you passed the barn, an old flint barn, was the original church. It was a barn first of all, and then it was used as a mass centre. But in the 1960s, the numbers really increased, and this church was erected. And the only piece of artwork in this church were those glorious 4 windows at the bottom there, that beautiful stained glass window. That was it, and everything else was plain, ceiling, windows. So that was 1970 it was opened. And in 1987, a young man, Gary, in the parish, went with his wife and 2 little girls on a parish pilgrimage to Rome. And he went into the Sistine Chapel and saw the original and had this strange idea. I could do that on the ceiling of the church. Just imagine that, I could do that. He obviously was very artistic, but he was a sign writer by profession. And he came back, talked to the priest. The priest said, you'll have to ask the bishop. So he went to the bishop, and the bishop said, you'll have to ask the parish. you know, it's their church, ask them. But, and this was the one stipulation that the bishop made, if you do start it, you've got to finish it. So, 1987, 5.5 years later, it was finished. He was working during the day, and this was evenings, weekends, other times. He started over there, and at first he thought he could do it all at home. So we had the big, I don't know what material, plywood, and he painted that first little bit, came and tried to put it up and realised this wasn't going to work. So it came down. He started again over there, and he hadn't done very much when the Vatican museums announced that they were renovating the Sistine Chapel, and they were going to clean it up after 400 or whatever years of incense and candles and dirt and dust and everything. It was going to be restored to its original colours. So he stopped and waited until it was finished in Rome, and then went to Rome, and when it was finally opened, the Vatican produced 1,500 copies of these huge art books with plates of the whole of the Sistine Chapel. You know the sort of things I mean? In 1987, this book cost £600. Serious money. He brought it back and he tore it into pages, and bit by bit, he had a page of one section, and he kind of traced it and worked it. As a sign writer, he was good at dimensions and everything else. And he worked his way around the whole, going over like that, back like that. This is 2/3 the size of the one in Rome. So it's absolutely a replica. It's not, you know, his own work at all. It's an actual copy. So you've all, if you haven't been to Rome, you've saved yourself a few bob today, because you'll actually see it. What it's like. Of course, this is 20-foot level. In Rome, you would be like that, looking at it. And that's why we've got these mirrors on trolleys, so you can see. But actually, because it's quite of low, it's quite easy to see. Last year, I was here. I'm a volunteer. I'm a member of the parish. The church is very much a parish church, and somebody came and said, "I live in Worthing, and I've just come back from Rome." And he said, "I was in the Sistine Chapel, and somebody, and it's very, very crowded, and they were moving you on. It wasn't, and somebody kept saying, 'No photos, no photos,' and everybody was taking photos. And somebody in a big loud voice said, 'I think the one in Goring's better.' And he didn't even know that there was one in Goring. You know, it's not well known. So he had to come and see it for himself. But, anyway, so this is the replica. You will recognise some of Michelangelo's art, God creating man. The central little bit at the top are biblical stories from the book of Genesis. And then further down, some of the prophets, and then further down here, you've got various popes. If you're interested in who's who and what's what, there's information about it, but I won't go into it all for you today. As Gary was painting, and there's a picture of him there on one of these tower things, painted there. There was a school, a convent school in Littlehampton that had a chapel. And in the chapel there was traditional stained glass window. And the priest could have that stained glass window. And he had somebody in the parish who designed this window. And at first there was some sort of concern, this is going to be a modern window, a modern design. Is it going to fit in with, you know, something much more classical? But in fact it does, I think. The two big scales there are the same shapes as the ceiling, you can see that. And it is called Peter's window, Peter's fisherman window. You've got the sea, you've got the dams, you've got the sky, you've got fish at the bottom, and certain fish have got certain names. If you see the end one there, you can just about make out the fish, and apparently it's the word Gary. Just at the bottom there, you can just about make it out. Gary, and that of course was Gary.
Yeah, I can see
working
it.
on the ceiling at the same time. This window
Just on this
here
right hand side near the bottom.
is the martyr's window, and this was professionally done, in the sense that the ceiling and the window are not.
I don't think this will pick that up.
I don't know what you mean by professional either, but this was professionally done, and it's different English martyrs. The church is dedicated to the English martyrs, so you've got different ones, beginning with St. Alban, first Roman martyr, ending with St. Philip Howard, who is associated with the Duke of Norfolk's family in Arundel. The Howard family were the Duke of Norfolk. A rather interesting last picture of the Last Supper there, which was Gary's work, his version. Again, it's a mixture of the classical. You've got some of the characters there from Caravaggio's Last Supper in the National Gallery. You've also got the priest and dog, and you've got the gentleman at the back with the big hair and a wonderful moustache. His name was John Cooper. He died by the time Gary was painting this. But he was an absolute, he was the sacristan, and he was an important person in the church. And he was always saying to the priest, come on father, hurry up, you're going to be late, you're going to be late. So Gary has painted him with a timepiece. So that's our church. It's absolutely full of a mixture of art. The thing that impresses me most about the ceiling is how Gary had the vision and the determination and the dedication to complete it, and you know, over years. Yeah, I have to mention this. It's painted with acrylic paint, so it can't be touched up or cleaned. Yeah, but the colours will stay, but it can't be cleaned because it's water-based. And, you know, if you tried to wash it, that'd be the end of it. Dulux donated all the paint. That's a little advert for Dulux. Yeah. So enjoy. There's lots of information there.
If you look very closely, you can make out the artist's name, Gary, in the bottom fish in the bottom right-hand section there. As you can see, there are these little mirrored trolleys that you can pull around if you want to look at the ceiling without looking up. This is the martyr's window that the lady mentioned. Might not show very well in this video. The one on the right there is St. Philip Howard, which is to do with the Duke of Norfolk, and there's St. Robert Southwell, St. Margaret Clitheroe, St. Thomas More, St. Thomas of Canterbury, Our Lady of the Martyrs, St. Anne Line, St. John Fisher, St. Edmund Campion, St Thomas, Garnet and St Alban. As you can see by this, it's not all love and harmony. Well, I'm not a particularly religious guy, but and it's usually old churches that I find fascinating, but that was quite interesting in there, and right on their doorstep in Goring. Been past this place dozens of times. Right, well, I'm back home now and putting my clips together, and my wife has just pointed out to me that I said the date as the 2nd of July. It's actually the 2nd of August 2022, not the 2nd of July. But just put that down to an ageing old chap, not in charge of all his faculties.